girl with a preppy vibe. Came to the spot with a friend of mine. She caught my eye. From the beginning, I was hooked. I can't tell a lie. Fresh, dressed, and fly. I respect her mind. Some dude trying to impress, but looking goofy at the same time. He bugging, she looking. I'm going for mine. Confidently, I approach with that eye-to-eye contact. She smiling while.
Hey y'all, I'm your girl, the STEMFashionista. Welcome to the check-in. Today we have some interesting topics. You may or may not know, but we talked about Project Freedom on Monday, and then as of I guess yesterday, President Trump has decided to pause the Project Freedom effort in order to, I guess, be able to fully embrace the negotiation process with Iran. Also, we have some footage of Trump speaking with the press, as well with Rubio, and how they are framing what's happening with the Project Freedom scenario. Okay. Additionally, there's some late breaking news with Miss Senator Louise Lucas, a Virginia senator, where they are doing an FBI investigation. We're going to get into that. And of course, we're going to talk about Stefon Diggs for a little bit. We talked about him when they first announced this case. He went to trial recently. His case did, rather, and he was found not guilty. But we're going to explore a little bit of that. So we're going to go ahead and get into the Project Freedom pause, and let's get this thing started. Here we go.
In the war with Iran, President Trump moments ago announcing that he is pausing Project Freedom, that the U.S. military mission to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Garrett Hake joins us now with this developing news. So walk our viewers through, Garrett, what exactly is happening here?
Tom, this is a stunning reversal from the president, whose administration put not one, but two cabinet secretaries out today for briefings defending this idea of Project Freedom as a key new administration priority, that the U.S. military might would be used to protect ships bottled up in the Persian Gulf since the start of this war as they transited out of the Strait of Hormuz. They did so successfully with two ships yesterday, but today just one ship passed through the strait. And now the president says that at the request of Pakistan and other countries, and he says because progress is being made in talks with Iran, this effort will be put on pause to see if a deal can be reached. The administration's priorities and solutions for the strait being closed have varied day by day, week by week. In the case of today, perhaps even hour by hour, as they've tried to figure out how to release the chokehold that Iran has had on that waterway without resuming combat operations. Now the solution seems to be they're going to go right back to where the status quo was on Sunday before this operation was announced. The thing that I think bears a lot more reporting here is what, if any, breakthroughs have there been in these negotiations to give the president the confidence to do this, if that's really the reason. Secretary Rubio today, the nation's top diplomat, was in the briefing room telling reporters that he wasn't sure if there could be a diplomatic agreement and calling Iran's leaders insane. So from that just a few hours ago to this is an enormous policy change.
Yeah, and I was going to say, because we all.
I agree. I do remember hearing President Trump mention that the people in leadership were insane over there in Iran. And to go from that to pausing the Project Freedom and in hopes of negotiations, with the whole scenario a couple weekends ago where the Iran leadership left Pakistan without talking to America and all of that, it's like a whole lot going on. So I'm just really not clear as to where we really stand with this stuff. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Let's keep it going.
All heard, at least us in the news that were watching Secretary Rubio there in the briefing room, it sounded like they were still very far apart. This sounds like maybe there's some hope.
Well, look,
I hope so.
I agree with you on at least the first part of that, Tom. I read everything we heard from Secretary Rubio today as pouring cold water on the diplomatic process. Nothing he said suggested to me that a diplomatic breakthrough could be close. We're now almost a month since Vice President Vance led that delegation to Pakistan to meet with the Iranians, and we've had no substantive breakthroughs on those talks in that time. President Trump is the eternal optimist. He has, at several junctures in this conflict, suggested that a breakthrough, a deal could be close, only to have that vanish. Is this something new? Is there actually a breakthrough imminent? Or is this a backing down on that Project Freedom that may or may not have been as effective as the U.S. would have liked, especially when you consider, that there were essentially no takers today?
All right, Garrett Haake with that breaking news tonight. Garrett.
Okay, so one thing we can take into consideration is that one of the so in case you didn't know, there's quite a few ships that have been sitting at the Strait of Hormuz since the beginning of this Operation Epic Fury. They're just sitting there waiting. As you guys may know, some of the insurance companies, the main one I was told, they did a risk assessment and they do not want those ships going through the strait, even with President Trump doing this Project Freedom, which is going to help provide cover for these ships to go through the strait. My understanding is that I think maybe 2 or 3 ships were able to go through the strait during Project Freedom here, but now they have paused everything. I was told, well, I've seen on the news that several countries asked the United States to put a pause on Project Freedom in order to allow these negotiations with Iran to be able to continue uninhibited, right? So I don't know. I'm really interested in seeing what is in the current proposed agreement, and I just don't see the Strait of Hormuz being as it was prior to Operation Epic Fury. I mean, ideally, we would like it to be that. But I think that since Iran has gotten its taste of power, if you will, that they're not going to let that go, So I'm going to just sit back like you all and we're going to see what happens with this thing. Now, for those who are just joining, welcome to the check in. Please feel free to like the live to push me in the algorithm. If you like the vibe, please subscribe. Right now, we're talking about the Project Freedom that just got initiated over the weekend that is currently being paused by President Trump in order to help move the negotiation aspect forward with Iran. Okay. And so next up, we're going to see President Trump answer questions from the press. And he gets a little bit into his mindset, if you will, in regards to Project Freedom and other things. Let's get into it.
Iran, Mr. President.
Yes.
They've fired at U.S. ships several times in the last 24 hours. What do they need to do to violate the ceasefire?
Well, you'll find out because I'll let you know.
Okay.
They know what to do and they know what to do. They know what not to do, more importantly, actually. And, they fired them in little boats with pea shooters, the pea shooters, little boat with little, why? Because they don't have any boats anymore.
So I can understand why Trump said what he did, because ultimately you don't want to tell the enemy, if you will, what your parameters are. So like he said, they already know by what's in the ceasefire agreement, what not to do. Now, I know that, they've been, shooting at the United States. I forgot how many times the General Kane said it in the press conference with Hegseth earlier that day. But, they have been, shooting at America, if you will. And once Trump decides what that line of demarcation is and they cross it, he gonna do what he gotta do, is what it sounds like. So you don't want to tell the right hand what the left hand is doing, as they say. Okay, let's keep this thing going.
Is comprised of, they call them little boats, right?
Boats or little boats.
And they're fast. Yeah, they're so fast that that they had 8 of them and they're all gone. And they're fast, but they're not fast like a missile. A missile is slightly faster.
Right.
They're all gone, so they're looking around for little boats to try and compete with our great Navy. We have a Navy that's unbelievable. We set up a blockade, as you know very well. Not one ship. A couple tried, and they got their engine shut out. You remember? I think it was it was a great display. A ship wanted to go through, break the blockade. They were warned not to. And then they were warned again by a young Annapolis captain of the ship with a great look, central casting. These people are central casting, I'll tell you. And he said, don't do it. Then he said, evacuate your engine room with this unbelievable loudspeaker that goes over water. He said, you have 10 seconds. And then from 4 miles with one bullet, it went right into the engine. And Gary, the ship stopped very quickly. They hit the engine with one shot. It wasn't a missile. They don't want to waste a missile on it. It's too easy. And we had another one, a 2000, one of the biggest ships in the world. They were warned, and he said, go back now, go back right now. You will be shot at within 10 seconds. Yes, yes, I am going back to Iran. I am going back. And that was the end of that, right? He went. It took him 10 miles to turn. The ship was so big, but they respect us. They didn't used to respect us, but they respect us more than we've ever been respected. Our country now is the hottest country anywhere in the world. We had a country that was dead when we had that group of people that ran this country with their open borders, letting anybody come in from the Congo, from countries all over the world. They came in from prisons and mental institutions. We had a country that would have been a dead. If they won the election, this country would have been a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
We got the hottest country. He loved that term, hottest.
They could take over their regime. Do you plan to arm them soon?
Well, I don't want to say that, but yeah, I mean, people say, why aren't they protesting? They want to protest, but they don't have any guns. So you could have 200,000 people protesting and have 5 or 6 sick people with guns. And when they start shooting them right between the eyes, and you see a guy fall and another one fall, and you have no guns, very few people would be able to stand there and do it. I mean, I understand. I tell them not to. Don't forget, they killed 42,000 people last month.
That's a lot, 42,000 people.
Unarmed protesters. They had no guns. So they had a 250,000 people crowd, and they had snipers. They had like 4 or 5 snipers in buildings up high. And you're standing there, and all of a sudden the guy on your left goes down, and somebody. That's what happened with a women protest. They had 200,000 women protesting a year ago, and everyone thought that was the end of Iran. And then all of a sudden, a woman dropped dead with a bullet right there, always right there. Then another woman dropped, and then the word started to spread, and then there was panic, and then they ran, and so I don't want that to happen. We don't need that, we don't need it. But the only reason that they want to protest so badly, but they don't have weapons. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next week, you have a very important meeting with President Xi in Beijing. Secretary Bessent has said that a top priority on the agenda will be Iran. What do you hope to achieve with President Xi as it relates to Iran?
Well, I have a very good relationship with President Xi. I find him to be a tremendous guy, and we get along well, and you see how we do. We're doing a lot of business with China and making a lot of money. We're making a lot of money. It's different than it used to be.
So one thing about Trump, he's very cautious with how he responds regarding China, because China is still getting, their oil from Strait of Hormuz to, from Iran or whatever. But he's saying that he's going to see the leadership over in China and have a good relationship and all those things. So he's definitely ensuring that he's not saying anything that could be troubling with his relationship that he's cultivating between China and the United States. That's just my 2 cents on what I'm hearing here. What do you guys think?
But I'll be talking about that'll be one subject. But he's been very nice about this. In all fairness, he gets like 60% of his oil from Hormuz, and I think he's been very respectful. We haven't been challenged by China. They don't challenge us, and he wouldn't do that. I don't think he'd do that because of me. But I think he's been very respectful, and we've offered, if he wants to send the ships to the United States. I think one of the big things that's happened is I made a statement: send your ships to Texas. It's not that much further. Send your ships to Louisiana. Send your ships to Alaska. Alaska is actually very close to a lot of the Asian countries. People don't realize it. Japan is back and forth. It's like, it doesn't seem it, but it's a very short route, 2 days shorter than almost any other route. We're making tremendous big deals with South Korea and with Japan. But I said, send your ships. All of a sudden, I don't know if you saw the graph today, and this is Space Force, which I created. Space Force has, they just sent out some.
I told y'all before, one thing Trump is gonna do, he's gonna let you know what he has accomplished, what he has created. Like he created, he said Space Force. So he did that, I want to say, in his first term, and then he recently got them moved to Huntsville, Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. It may be called something different now, I'm not sure, but yeah, he's gonna let you know what he's achieved and accomplished. Let's keep this thing going.
Photos of the ships that are lined up all the way down the ocean like it's a highway. It looks like the Long Island Expressway for ships. And they're all heading to Texas, Louisiana. We've made up this, and that's why when I decided that I have to do this for the good of the world, not just the United States, in a way we would have been in less trouble than a lot of other places. Certainly the Middle East would have been blown up. There wouldn't be a Middle East anymore. They would have taken over the Middle East. Now they're trying to survive, and they won't be successful unless they make a deal. Oh, if they don't make a deal, they won't be successful. It'll go very quickly and methodically. Believe me, it'll be very easy. But we have so many alternatives. It's amazing. And nobody knew this, because as an example, Japan got 90% of their oil, most of their energy, but most of their oil from the Hormuz Strait. South Korea got 43% of it. By the way, their ship was shot at. They were not in the cavalcade of ships. They decided to go it alone, and their ship got the hell knocked out of it yesterday. But they didn't shoot the ships that were guarded by us, I'll tell you that. We knocked down a lot of missiles. So what happens is that we have a situation where we have total control. As you know, the blockade's been amazing. It's like a piece of steel. Nobody's going to challenge the blockade. And I think it's working out very well. We're going to see. I can say this. Iran wants to make a deal. What I don't like about Iran is they'll talk to me with such great respect, and then they'll go on television, they'll say, we did not speak to the president. We did not. I just spoke to...
So I have been saying for the last few weeks that it's been kind of interesting, if you will, because the administration will put out one version of events, and then Iran will put out something different. And so he's acknowledging that in his speech right here, where he's saying that they talked to him directly, and it's a different conversation, but when it goes into the public, it's a different narrative. So I just don't know when we're gonna get the actual truth. Hopefully this whole Operation Epic Fury, Project Freedom, whatever all this is, will come to an end soon. I haven't heard much from Israel in the news in the last week or two. Maybe I've just missed it, but haven't heard much about what they have going on. I need to go look into it. Let's keep this going.
We did not speak to the president. So they play games, but let me just tell you, they want to make a deal. And who wouldn't? When your military is totally gone, we could do anything we want to them. Who wouldn't? Please.
On the filibuster, Mr. President, you posted a lot about wanting to eliminate the filibuster. Yeah. It hasn't happened. Are you disappointed in leadership?
Yeah, no, I'm disappointed. I like John a lot, but he has a couple of Republicans that are foolish people. A couple of them I like. A couple of them I can't stand, actually, if you want to know the truth. Although I am at...
Oh, wow, he can't stand his party?
100% approval within the Republican Party. That's better than your record, Gary. I'm at 100% approval.
One thing about it, he's
poll?
candid.
Nobody talks about it. CNN, I think the people that did that poll probably got fired. But within the Republican Party in MAGA, which is basically 100% of the party, I think, but 100%. No, I think that you're going to see some very interesting things. The filibuster, if you had it, we should have the Save America Act. We should have voter identification, voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship. We should have mail-in voting for the military and people that need it, but not for everybody. Because anytime you have mail-in voting, they're going to cheat. And they cheat like dogs. And they have to cheat. In all fairness to the Democrats, when you have men and women sports, when you have open borders, when you have transgender mutilization, don't listen to this, kids, of your children, transgender mutilization of your children for everyone. When you have policies like that, you have to cheat. It's the only way they can win. And we shouldn't allow them to cheat. And we should terminate the filibuster, because if they get the chance, they'll do it in the first hour back.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. When Iran is seeing 50% inflation, they've moved money from their sovereign
Their economy is crashing.
Would you allow their financial system then to fail?
Well, I guess so, because we're making it fail, right?
Is that what it takes?
I hope it fails.
Is that what it takes?
You know why? Because I want to win. It takes getting pounded on by the military, I think, for more. But in addition to that, it is failing. You know, we have sanctions on them, tremendous sanctions. Scott Besant's done a great job. We have sanctions that nobody's ever seen before. No, they're failing. Their currency is worthless. Their inflation is probably 150%. The real number is 150%. They aren't paying their soldiers. They can't pay their soldiers. The money is worthless. No,
Really?
They should do the smart thing, you know. They should do the smart thing, and because.
So, I mean, if they can't, we were talking the other day, y'all, and you remember we were saying, well, we were told that there was issues with Iran being able to pay the soldiers, lack of food, lack of, military weaponry, things of that nature. And I would think if someone was in that position, that they would be definitely wanting to make a deal. And it doesn't seem like to me that Iran is as willing to make a deal. I'm not in leadership in Iran or of leadership of any country, but if I couldn't pay my people, couldn't feed my people, things like that, I would definitely be trying to keep things moving forward. Like when I say that, because it's like with this whole Project Freedom thing, right? Like that was intended to get those boats that have been sitting in Strait of Hormuz for like the last 10 weeks to get them out. They weren't like military affiliated type of vessels, but my understanding is that Iran said, hey, we're not going to negotiate with you guys as long as you guys have these different things going on. And other countries asked the U.S., i.e., President Trump, to stop the Project Freedom situation. So I don't know. I guess we're going to see what's happening here. Now, for those who are watching, all 45 of you, please feel free to like the live, push me into the algorithm. If you like the vibe, please subscribe. I'm going to get into these comments real quick. So we have so David Zarowski has been saying quite a bit. I've been responding in the chat. Let me read a couple of these. He says that China is watching U.S. stupidity in Iran and learning the limitations of U.S. capabilities. He says, remember, China controls rare materials needed for U.S. weapons and are not selling to the U.S. because of the 50% tariffs on Chinese products. I did not realize that. That we have PJ Silence. Welcome to the check-in, saying everything he does, no one's ever seen before. We have Kevin Kevs says worst president ever, and he says gas is up 30% and beef is up 12%. We got Brian Becker in the house saying aloha. Hey. We have Mr. Goddard saying, hey, Mrs. Lady. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the check-in. Let's go ahead and get back to this discussion.
We don't want to go in and kill people. We really don't. I don't want to. It's too tough. Great people. I know the people. I have so many Iranian friends from New York and from other places over the years. They're great people. I don't want to kill those.
Gas prices in the United States.
Okay. I was already at the end. Okay, y'all. So we have Kevin Cavs mentioning farm bankruptcies are up 46%. Wow. I remember watching a interview of a gentleman that represented the Black Farmers organization, and he was talking about the price of fertilizer and how if they couldn't get this fertilizer, it could affect food costs and whatnot later on this year. So I'd be interested to see what's happening, but I guess as you're stating here, farm bankruptcies are up 46%. Wow. David Zarowski is saying fertilizer is mass produced in China and most sold to the United States, and China has banned the export of fertilizer at this time. Okay. So I didn't know that China was doing all that. So thank you for that insight. Then we have PJ Silence saying Project Freedom lasted one day. Yeah, we have ID Winkin Nobi 56118 saying howdy. How you doing over there? Okay. So yeah, so that's what we have going on with Trump. Now, Rubio, the Secretary of State, had some things to say as well regarding Project Freedom, as well as other things. So we're gonna go ahead and transition over into that. Let's keep it going.
Where the Trump administration is downplaying concerns that the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran is unraveling. Despite Iran's renewed aggression in the Strait of Hormuz, armed clashes with U.S. forces, and strikes in the region, as gas prices continue to rise and the price of oil remains above $100 a barrel. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is wrapping up a briefing at the White House with reporters where he was pressed about the status of the war in Iran and the current U.S. operations to guide vessels through the strait. He told reporters that the war was, quote, over, but the turmoil in the strait was not.
This is not an offensive operation. This is a defensive operation. And what that means is very simple. There's no shooting unless we're shot at first. Okay, we're not attacking them. But if they're attacking us, or they're attacking a ship, you need to respond to that. Look, the time's come for Iran to make a sensible choice. And it's not easy for them to do that, obviously, because they have a fracture in their own leadership system. And apart from that, I mean, the top people in that government are, to say the least, they're insane in the brain. And so we need to address that. Operation is over. Epic Fury, as the president notified Congress, we're done with that stage of it.
Secretary Rubio was adamant that Iran cannot be allowed to normalize control of the strait, tacitly acknowledging that Iran does in fact have control of the vital waterway, in direct contrast to what the president has said in recent weeks about the U.S. controlling the strait.
These guys have shut down the Straits of Hormuz. This is what Iran is saying. We will shut down the straits. No one can go through. No country in the world can go through unless we allow you to go through, and you have to pay us. But our ships can go through, meaning the Iranian ships, as much as they want. That's crazy.
This comes after we saw in this briefing today with the president an incredibly high gas prices. All of the news from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, who also held a briefing today. General Kane telling reporters that since the ceasefire began, Iran has attacked U.S. forces more than 10 times, but saying those attacks are below the threshold of restarting major combat operations. Here's more from the Pentagon briefing.
You said that the attacks by Iran so far are below the threshold of restarting major combat operations. What is that threshold?
The threshold of restarting is a political decision above my pay grade. What I'll say is it's low harassing fire right now.
The last 24 hours or so, Iran's fired at us, we fired at Iran. Just going to ask you more directly, is the ceasefire over?
No, the ceasefire is not over. Ultimately, the president's going to make a decision whether anything were to escalate into a violation of a ceasefire.
And today, President...
So, they're asking, is the ceasefire over? And then he's saying that basically the president will make a determination that if any violation will ultimately end this ceasefire, anything that Iran is doing. Everything seems to be very subjective when it comes to the ceasefire. I mean, I've seen where the leadership over in Iran have stated, hey, well, the blockade that the U.S. is doing, they see that as being a violation of the ceasefire. Okay, they also said that, okay, when Israel was still doing this thing with Lebanon, still attacking and going back with Lebanon and forth, if you will, they were saying, well, that's a violation of the ceasefire, which, the administration as well as Israel saying, no, we're not a part of that ceasefire agreement, which Netanyahu did go ahead and, work out his own deal regarding that. But this ceasefire just seems to be so nebulous, if you will. What we got going on here in the comments? We have David Zabrowski saying Iran is smarter than the U.S. David Zabrowski is also saying threshold is when warships in Hormuz are attacked. And that's what I'm saying. That's what they're saying. Like, what is that number? I tell you what, though, if the right ship get hit, I bet that threshold gonna be reached real quick. I think right now, I don't think there's like a number per se, because the General Kane just said, He just said that, it's been like, it's a low number, it's like harassing, but it doesn't rise to the level of anything, right? But let's just say a Navy ship got attacked. I promise you, in my humble opinion, that if they were to attack a U.S. ship, that's gonna be that threshold. Now, if you sit here and you attack these other little things, and oh no, we're attacking, we're doing a little harassing thing, as he called it, they may allow it to go by. But if they do the right target and cause enough damage, it could be just one. It's gonna be game over, in my opinion. We have Linda Southward saying, hello, my first time here, and just subscribe. Thank you. I appreciate that. Y'all let me know in the comments what you guys think as far as like what that threshold would be. I done told you what my thoughts are. I mean, we all here speculating. Nobody is an expert, at least I'm not. So let's see. We have David Zabrowski saying Project Freedom was a way around Congress as a way to get around the 60-day rule. And like I mentioned in the chat, when Hex did a press conference about a week ago, he was saying that the ceasefire stopped the 60-day clock. That was his statement. I've seen different experts say that they don't necessarily think that is accurate. They weren't sure, if you will. So I'm not even sure if the 60-day clock is going, not going. Yet again, there is a lack of clarity regarding some of the things that are going on. But if you guys know, please let me know something. We have Mr. Goddamn saying true. David Zabrowski is saying if an American warship was attacked and sailors are unalive, America will pull out. Pull. So yeah, when you say pull out, what do you mean? Like pull out of the Strait of Hormuz, or go ahead and pull out that ceasefire and do what they are going to do? How do you define pull out in particular to make sure I'm tracking? But anywho, we're gonna go ahead and keep this going, and I'm gonna be monitoring the chat. If you're here, 43 of you guys, if you like the live, please subscribe. Help push me into the algorithm. Let's keep it going.
Would not say what would constitute a violation of that ceasefire.
What do they need to do to violate the ceasefire?
Well, you'll find out, because I'll let you know. They know what to do, and they know what to do. They know what not to do, more importantly, actually. As you know, the blockade's been amazing. It's like a piece of steel. Nobody's going to challenge the blockade. And I think it's working out very well. They play games, but let me just tell you, they want to make a deal. And who wouldn't? When your military is totally gone, we could do anything we want to them.
And despite the president's optimism about the U.S. naval blockade, transit through the Strait of Hormuz remains at a near standstill, with only one vessel making it through the channel today, according to analysts. And with so much of the world's oil supply frozen, gas prices continue to climb, reaching a new high during the war. Average prices now hitting $4.48 a gallon, up 50%. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, for the second consecutive day, the United Arab Emirates says it came under attack by missiles and drones from Iran. Tehran denies it carried out the attack, but yesterday, Iran's foreign minister warned in a post on social media that the UAE should be wary of, quote, being dragged back into quagmire by ill wishers. Joining me now is NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake, who was just in that briefing with Secretary Rubio. We have NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Cubie and NBC News military analyst, retired Army Colonel Steve Warren. Thank you all for starting us off. Garrett, I want to go to you on what we just heard from the secretary there. What stood out to you?
Well, I think the main thing was the effort to reframe this Project Freedom as a benevolent action of the United States, the idea that the U.S. is trying to help out allies and partners all over the world, and as a humanitarian action for sailors who've been trapped in the Persian Gulf since this war started, not as a military exercise as a consequence of Iran shutting the strait because of the war that the U.S. has been engaged on in Iran. I mean, it was a
So let me just say this, y'all. They have been over there for like 10 weeks. And my thing is, and I've said this a few times, so please bear with me. I mean, what kind of supplies do you have on this ship? Because that's to be in that environment for 10 weeks unknowingly. When you went there, you were going to go get your load and then, head out. But you've been sitting there in this ship for almost well, it's been at least 2 months, right? Yeah. 60 days. My goodness. So we have Randall Ford in the house. Welcome to the check-in. Glad you're here. David Zabrowski is saying, end the war or put boots on the ground. What is worse for Trump? So pull out of the war, leaving the region and Hormuz in Iranian control. Okay, that's what you mean by America will pull out. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens if it comes down to it. We got Craftsman in the house saying what's new. So right now we are discussing, for those who are just coming in, on the Project Freedom and how it's being paused. So it just got started the other day and now it's in pause mode, okay? So we've kind of we've heard from Rubio as well as Trump, and now we have these analysts giving their perspective what's going on with the pausing of the Project Freedom. So let's keep it going.
Around this new goal of opening the strait, and the secretary trying to link that to, what if Iran had a nuclear weapon and this desire to keep the strait closed? What a disaster that would be. To me, it was just sort of a telling marker of how far we've come in the almost 10 weeks since this conflict began. That was all about preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon in a time where the strait was not even something that most Americans could find on a map, to now, on this day, the Secretary of State spending almost an hour talking about the importance of reopening a global waterway that was, before this conflict, open.
Yeah, having no issue at all compared to what we're seeing now. And Garrett, there was some mixed messaging that we've even seen just over the course of today from the Trump administration, insisting that the ceasefire does remain in place. So what is the status of negotiations right now between the U.S. and Iran, according to Secretary Rubio?
It's a great question. The country's top diplomat, the Secretary of State, put some distance between himself and those negotiations, saying that this was something that, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff have been heading up. He criticized Iran's leaders at one point as being insane. He called them radical clerics, and he talked about the idea of a diplomatic solution as a conditional. He said if there could be a diplomatic outcome. None of that suggests a great deal of confidence in negotiations that haven't taken place in person in almost a month, and with the Secretary of State basically keeping an arm's length from something that you perhaps would not have heard that same kind of tone if he were optimistic that a deal could be reached.
Yeah, Secretary Rubio not participating in any of those negotiations coming up. He has another big trip coming. And Courtney, I do want to turn to you now, because the Pentagon did also have a briefing today. So what more did we learn about U.S. military operations and the status of the ceasefire from their perspective?
Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that President Trump, in a radio interview late yesterday, declined to say whether the ceasefire had been broken or not by the U.S. and Iran exchanging fire near the Strait of Hormuz yesterday, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth was adamant about it and said, no, the ceasefire has not been broken. So interesting for him to sort of take a step ahead of where the president was willing to go on the same issue. We learned a little bit more about exactly how this Project Freedom is going to operate. So far, we're still only aware of the 2 U.S. flagships that have transited through the strait, through that U.S. passageway. They transited through yesterday. Both were U.S. flagged. As of now, I've just checked again. We're not aware of any additional that have gone through, despite the fact that both the military and the Secretary of Defense himself said that there are dozens of countries and shipping companies that have come forward saying that they're interested in using this passageway. Iran did try to attack both of those ships using drones, missiles, and small boats, these small fast boats. The U.S. military was able to intercept the drones and the missiles and fire on those fast boats, blowing them up from attack helicopters in the air. So at this point, the big question is, what's going to happen going forward? Will additional ships come forward and use that passageway? And what will happen? Will they go through without any kind of provocations?
And as we noted in the open, only one vessel was even able to transit the Strait of Hormuz today. So how is the Pentagon justifying its claim that this operation to guide vessels through the passageway is working?
So they did get through 2 of them through yesterday. So they're looking at that as a success. And I've been asking officials today, what's the latest? What's happening with more ships going through? And they say, we're working through. There's all these people who are coming forward. But we've not gotten any specifics, despite asking many times. The reporters in the briefing just there were also trying to press Secretary of State Marco Rubio about what countries have come forward and expressed any kind of interest in this as well. But he also declined to provide any kind of specifics or give any sort of scope or scale of what that might look like.
And Court, we ask you this all the time, but it's so helpful to remind viewers, because as we're talking about the ceasefire still holding, just remind us, what is the current U.S. military posture right now in the region?
So there's three separate operations there right now, or missions really, but many of the forces there are overlapping and in some cases are really assigned to all three of them. So there's Operation Epic Fury, despite the fact that we are hearing from Trump administration officials that that is over or terminated. In fact, the military component of that continues. The military sees that operation as being on pause right now. Next, we have this ongoing naval blockade that's been going on for several weeks. There are a number of different ships. There are dozens of U.S. military aircraft assigned to that. And then now we have this Project Freedom. What's confusing about this is these are the Pentagon has made it very clear that they see these as three completely separate and distinct missions or operations. But again, the ships, the aircraft, the personnel, many of them are simultaneously assigned to multiple missions at the same time. It's just a matter of which one they are actively engaging in at any given moment. That's why the situation is very confusing right now.
Thank you, Courtney Kube, for breaking down the complexities of all of that. Appreciate it. And I want to continue that conversation specifically with Colonel Steve Warren, who is here on set with me. And as we did mention, General Kane said today that Iran has attacked U.S. forces 10 times, but that is below the threshold of what they would use to potentially start combat operations again. So what kind of message does that send to Iran about what it would take to violate the ceasefire? Does this mean that they can kind of test and take it further and further each time to see how far they can get?
Yeah, it's interesting. The president added on top of that, didn't he, when he said the Iranians will know when it happens, right? So I think they will. The Iranians will continue to probe. They'll continue to press to try to find out where those lines are. And this is common, right? In ceasefires, often what you see is this sort of jockeying back and forth, a violation here, a violation there, but nothing that will cause the entire thing to blow up. Is it clear to you what an actual violation would look like? What do you think that threshold would be? Well, I think the threshold would be if something gets through, right? So, they fired several missiles, some drones. We managed to shoot those all down. If something gets through and does damage to an American warship, I think that'll probably flip the switch. And the Trump administration has continued to say and tout that this operation of Project Freedom has been successful so far. But one global shipping giant told NBC News that its risk assessment remains unchanged and the strait remains, as they view it, closed for transit. So is there a limit to what the military can do to reassure these shipping companies that it could be safe to go through? Yeah, I think so. What's going to happen, and this happens in every operation, it will take a little bit of time to generate the combat power, to get the systems in place, to get things sort of rocking and rolling, so to speak, right? And once that happens, I think we'll start to see confidence build. What the military has done is create this lane of sort of safe passage. Admiral Brad Cooper, the commander of CENTCOM, called it a thick layer of defense. So it's aircraft, it's ships, it's subsurface, it's everything, creating this barrier, this umbrella over the lane.
So even with this thick layer of defense, that shipping company is like, they're not willing to risk it. So there you have it. And I want to say there's like one or two main companies that do the insurance for all those ships, and they're not willing to risk it, even with the thick layer of defense that is being created to protect the ships going through. But let's keep it going.
Captains, mariners start to feel comfortable with that, I think you'll see increased traffic through there.
So, Colonel Warren, what you're describing, does that make it seem like what we're seeing now could become the status quo in the Strait of Hormuz? Is this something that U.S. military operations could continue to support for how long?
It could be. And in fact, it's a strategic move, right? If we can open that strait, if this works, then the United States military can continue that blockade on Iran pretty much forever. So if this works, it'll go on until the Iranians finally collapse, I believe. It will take time. It will take energy. It will take effort. The Navy can do it. We just have to be patient.
And the way that the U.S. military has been talking about Operation Epic Fury as sort of one thing that has, quote, terminated for legal purposes, but the naval blockade and what we're talking about with Project Freedom, those are happening on different tracks, right? How should people understand and separate the two?
It's tricky. It's really hard sometimes to separate them out. A lot of the separation that the military and the Pentagon and the White House are doing really are for legal purposes. I think to the common bystander, looking at all of this as one big operation is perfectly reasonable. What we're trying to do is get Iran to do something. And once that happens, the whole thing will end.
Colonel Warren, thank you.
Wow, y'all. So he was just saying that the United States has the ability to continue with that U.S. naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz for an extended period of time. Now, one thing President Trump was saying, I want to say it was last week, he was saying that Iran can only hold but so much oil um, over there for an extended period of time before something, catastrophic happens. And so that window is coming near since they're not able to get a lot of stuff out of the Strait of Hormuz due to the naval blockade from the United States. So this is interesting. I'm really curious to see how this is going to play out as far as like the ceasefire and just everything. Like I said in the comments here, interested to see if this Hormuz Strait is going to end up going back to not being, tolled. We will see. So we have Unrefined saying why they keep missing the orange. Then we have Unrefined saying Yanks and their nasty bacon breath. I don't know what a Yank is. We have Craftsman saying that's why I have a hard time feeling sorry for Gaza because they would have done the same thing to Israel. Okay. And then we have David Zarowski saying Iran has learned from Ukraine how to take on a bigger, stronger army and hurt them. And now a free Hormuz is now told. Okay. So yes, y'all. We have Mr. Woe now saying word salad that boy is spewing. Interesting. Okay, so we are going to um take a quick detour, if you will. I want us to look at this Truth Social post that President Trump put out today in regards to Iran. So let me go ahead and pull it on the screen for you guys. And I'm going to, hopefully it'll come on soon. Okay. So let me pull it up on my tablet here. And I'm going to read it to you guys. But you can start looking at it now. As you guys know, Trump believes in posting on that Truth Social, okay? So, what he had to say today was assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is perhaps a big assumption, the already legendary epic fury will be at an end. And the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to be open to all, including Iran. If they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be, sadly, at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. He posted this at 7:41 this morning. And he's saying that basically if Iran does not agree to what's been agreed to already, that when they come off this ceasefire, it's going to be bombing at a much higher level and intensity than what it was before. Okay? That is what he has stated in his Truth Social post. So, I'm not sure. I forgot the extent of the timeline for the ceasefire. I know that it was extended, I think, but I forgot in this moment how long it was extended to. Um, yeah. So that was one of the posts that he made today in regards to Iran. Also, y'all, we're gonna look at another one where he's talking about Ted Turner. As you all may or may not know, Mr. Ted Turner passed away recently. I think it was either yesterday or today. And he was very influential when it came to CNN and things of that nature. and President Trump had some things to say in regards to his passing. So I have on the screen here on the post. You know I'm legit. He posted this today at 10:55, where he says Ted Turner, one of the greats of all time, just died. He founded CNN, sold it, and was personally devastated by the deal because the new ownership took CNN, his baby, and destroyed it. It became woke and everything that he is not all about. Maybe the new buyers, wonderful people, will be able to bring it back to its former credibility and glory. Regardless, however, one of the greats of broadcast history and a friend of mine, whenever I needed him, he was there, always willing to fight for a good cause. President Donald J. Trump. So yes, y'all, Mr. Ted Turner passed away, and that is what Trump had to say in regards to his friend's untimely passing, if you will. So what do we have here in the comments real quick? We have let's see, we have Lucas Weather. Welcome to the check-in. Asking Trump or Kamala Harris. Feel free to respond in the chat, y'all. We have Craftsman saying we keep paying for these Gulf wars at the gas pump. Obama and Bush did it to us too. Okay. We have PGF 6678. Welcome back. Saying he went and meddled with the hornet's nest and don't know how to extricate himself. Now threatening more violence. Okay, then we have Craftsman saying that was originally Israel's land. Where do you think Egypt got Jews from in the Bible? They didn't come from Poland. Okay. We have Craftsman saying the Bible is close to 10,000 years old. Now, if you did not know, check out one of my vlogs. I got to go to the Museum of the Bible recently, and I got to see the Great Scrolls. They have some of the artifacts there. So I did a vlog on it. I went the day before Easter. So if you have not checked out that vlog, please do so. Okay. And if you are here, 45 of you guys, please like the live, push me into the algorithm. And if you like the vibe, please subscribe. All right. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about Senator Louise Lucas. Apparently the FBI decided to raid her premises, okay? And so we are going to get into that. Let's go.
And now we can. Federal agents are arresting people in that string of FBI raids across Virginia. This is all connected to an influential Democrat in the Commonwealth of Virginia, State Senator Louise Lucas. They are at her office executing warrants as a part of a major corruption probe. So I want to go back now to Alex Hogan, who's there. Alex.
Hi, Harris. So you can still see that the FBI are behind me. We've been seeing them throughout the morning, bringing boxes in and out. They also told staff members they needed to leave the building. We heard some of those employees coming out saying that they were told they had to leave and they were not allowed back inside. I do want to give you some context of where we are. The FBI not only arriving here at this location, but also at the dispensary, the cannabis dispensary just across the parking lot. And this is a look at what it looked like earlier today with the FBI agents arriving, SWAT teams getting out of their vehicles with weapons, telling people inside that cannabis dispensary to put their hands up and to come outside. At least 3 people were taken into custody. Federal law enforcement say that they're carrying out these court-authorized criminal search warrants at more than 10 locations across the state. Again, this is the State Senator Louise Lucas's office behind me, but we're also learning that she is connected to this dispensary here. Senator Lucas is president pro tem, meaning she's one of the highest and most powerful figures in the entire state legislature. And when she arrived here, I asked her about being here as the FBI raided these locations. Take a listen.
Is there anything that we can say about what they're doing? I don't know what's going on. I just came from another report, so I'm just gonna wait until they tell me.
So again, dozens of members of the FBI arriving here and being here throughout the last hour, taking boxes of documents we could imagine from the office behind me. They're also still at this cannabis dispensary. We have seen the senator circle around a couple times in her vehicle. Clearly, as we heard her say in that comment, that she doesn't know why they're here. A lot of questions for the people in the community who are coming out taking pictures, wondering again what their senator could potentially be involved with, as we're waiting to hear more information as well. Harris.
All right, Alex, thank you.
That's kind of interesting. So I had to do a little bit of research real quick. Because I don't smoke weed or anything like that. So I'm not very familiar with the rules of this because I don't do it. So one, this is breaking news. Two, I don't think I've seen what the FBI search warrants were actually for. So what I did look up is okay about dispensaries in Virginia. Is that a thing? It says, yes, you can have a cannabis dispensary in Virginia, but currently only medical dispensaries are legal and operational. While recreational possession is legal for adults 21 and older, recreational adult use dispensaries are not yet open. Interesting. So, from what I'm gathering here, so medical dispensaries are operational now. There are approximately 22 to 23 licensed medical dispensaries in the state. To use them, you have to have a written certification from a registered healthcare provider. Now, recreational dispensaries are launching in 2027. In early 2026, the General Assembly passed legislation to launch the adult use market. And so, legal recreational sales are scheduled to begin on 1 July 2027. And the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority is expected to begin accepting applications for retail licenses in late 2026. So interesting. Not sure what's going on with what she's doing, but that is what I found on the internet in regards to dispensary and operations. Okay, so we're gonna watch this and we're gonna look at this closely. Okay, what do we have here in the chat? We have Jason P. Marlowe in the house. Welcome. Saying who cares about some desert? We have it's private 4360. Welcome. Saying my mother was born in Palestine. We are Jewish. We have Mr. Goddard saying wild crazy work. And then we have David Zarowski saying when it was created, Israel was created by Jews stealing land from Palestine. Okay, so next up, now we talked about Stefon Diggs about a month or so ago, maybe a few months ago. I forgot the timeline, and his upcoming court case that he had going on. It just ended yesterday. As you may or may not know, he was found not guilty. Okay, but we talked about it. His chef said that he attacked her and that he also owed her money for services, right? So I want to say he had to go to court, and then some things were delayed, if you will, because of the Super Bowl. You know, the New England Patriots were in the Super Bowl. He played in that. And so yesterday he was determined to be not guilty. But I kind of wanted to discuss it a little bit because it's a lot going on with this thing, okay? Y'all know he used to be dating Cardi B and all that. They broke up, got a kid together and all that jazz. So his lawyer had some things to say in regards to, you know, I guess in his words, well, and I'll paraphrase it. He was just saying how people are targeting these athletes trying to get some money, you know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and get into what he had to say about his client. And what I will tell you guys is that when they read that not guilty verdict, you could see like a tear coming down his face. And I know that it had to be a sense of relief to have to fight this case, you know, and show up for this and deal with it. And then I found out that he's not even signed to a team right now because they probably didn't want to touch him with a 30,000-foot pole with all this going on. So maybe now that he's been vindicated, maybe he'll be able to get back with a team and continue his career. But you know, sometimes it's really not innocent until proven guilty. Sometimes you consider guilty until you proven innocent, and then they may still look at you as being guilty. You see what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and get into what his lawyer had to say.
We want to thank the judge and the jury for running an efficient case and listening to all the evidence and coming to a just result. Domestic violence is a very, very serious issue in this country, and
yes, it is.
It's disconcerting when people use it as a sword and manufacture claims in an attempt to extract money. I believe the jury saw through that today, and we are very, very pleased with this result. I'm thankful for someone like Stefon Diggs, who insisted that he get his day in court so that his truth could be heard, and it was heard. No assault ever occurred, as Andrew said, both during his opening and his summation. People have to stop targeting professional athletes and trying to extract money. They have a target on their back, and it's hard enough doing.
Let me say this. So he just said that people need to stop targeting these professional athletes. And that's one thing that Cardi B also said when it came to a case where this woman was trying to get a photo of her while she was pregnant, all these things. And you remember, it was, I want to say it was last year, she went to court against this woman, and she was like, you know, she's tired of these people like trying to come after her, thinking that they were gonna, get her to settle. But no, Cardi B said she gonna take this to the court to the end. And so she went ahead on and didn't charge this lady. She didn't let the lady pay her lawyer fees because Cardi B won her case. But she said next time it's gonna be a different outcome because you're not gonna just keep, coming for her, thinking that you're going to be able to, threaten me with a lawsuit and I just settle. Like, that's not happening. Okay, so I'm sure you guys may have seen or heard about her case as well last year. Okay. So then we have Craftsman saying, I watch sports, but I don't get into the drama. I don't know much about this. Got you. And we got David Zabrowski saying, there is no smoke without fire. Domestic abuse is serious. Yes. So David Zabrowski, the person that is saying this is abuse, was not like a significant other. It was his chef. Yeah. So what I will say is, and I may be off here, but I believe that he may have had a sexual relationship with the chef, and you cannot cross the lines with people that who work for you and all of that. And what I will also say is that I did look at some of her testimony, and we're going to play some of that in a minute or so. And when she was being asked questions that pertain to her and her lawyers and things of that nature, she was very like, well, I don't know how to answer the question. But when she was asked about things that she really wasn't asked about, she was offering a lot of information. Oh, well, Stefon had this woman working for him. I don't know what she was doing, but they were having a relationship. She was very willing to speak on those type of salacious things, but not the things that were being asked of her when it came to her being on the being cross-examined. But we're gonna get into all that. But let's keep this part going.
What they do, and this has to stop. People should focus on real victims from domestic violence, and allegations like this do a tremendous disservice to those who are really afflicted and impacted by causes like this. And it's been an honor to represent Stefon, and I could not be more proud of him that he insisted that we see this through and that the truth be told.
After the verdict was read, he got emotional and he clutched his lawyers. How is Stefon doing right now?
It's an emotional thing to have false allegations levied at you. This has impacted him both personally and professionally. And so, yeah, he's an emotional person, but he's a person. He's a human being. And people just look at professional athletes like they don't have feelings and they don't have emotions and they don't have cares. They do, and he certainly does, and he's not shy about expressing that. So our hope is that this is now behind him, that he will get signed by a team. Any team that signs him will be lucky to have him. We are very pleased and happy that Stefon will, continue on and play football in the National Football League.
Describe
We hope.
You said you impacted him professionally and emotionally and personally. Give us more details on that.
Well, I just think teams have been reluctant to sign him with these false charges hanging over his head. And now that he has been exonerated and his truth has been heard and his position that this never occurred and he's been falsely accused, he's been vindicated. And I believe that a team will reach out and sign him imminently, and they're going to be lucky to get him.
With everything that happened with one witness, was there ever a talk of a mistrial during the past 2 days?
Not by us. We wanted this case to run its course and be completed. And there were a lot of missteps in this case. Whoever was listening saw it. But we, I believe, Sarah and Andrew and I, wanted this to see its end shortly, and so we persevered and we made sure that there was no mistrial and that the jury had an opportunity to opine and render a verdict, and they rendered a just verdict.
Was there ever a consideration to settle this, especially early on when the Patriots were
Never. Stefon was not going to settle this case. He was falsely accused, and he wanted everyone to know that.
Why do you think prosecutors moved forward with the case? I think you had said you'd be surprised if it reached trial, and yet here we are after a trial.
I was surprised then. I was surprised yesterday. I'm still surprised. This case never should have been brought. It was a waste of resources.
I'm gonna tell you why the case was brought. Based off what we're about to see when it comes to the lady that accused him and how she gave that testimony, I don't think that she ever thought that this was going to ever go in front of a trial. Go in front of you go into a trial in front of a jury. I believe that she thought that she was going to, you know, what's the word? She was going to attempt to do this. Hey, I'm going to take you to court. Let's do a settlement. I think she was banking on the settlement and everything, and it didn't work out that way. Like the lawyer just said, Stefon wanted to clear his name. He was never going to do a settlement, but I believe that she was expecting a settlement to occur, and it would never go before a jury. Because when you see how this lady was on that stand and how she was talking, or lack thereof, then you will see what I'm talking about here. Okay, let's go ahead and keep. Hold on, let me read what y'all saying first. If you're here, the 114 of you, please feel free to like the live, push me into the algorithm. If you like the vibe, please subscribe. Okay. We have Craftsman saying he's a number 2 wide receiver at this point of his career, but his ego won't allow him to accept that. Okay. We got Mr. Goddard saying, yes, we hope he will return. He's a good talent. Okay. I mean, if he got some years left in him, he need to make that money. I'm with you on that. Okay, let's get back into what the lawyer had to say.
At one point during this case, were you certain that you've got this in the bag? And also, what were other surprises during this trial that really stood out for you?
I think one of the surprises for me was Miss Adams' testimony and how she testified and what she testified about.
Exactly.
What questions she couldn't answer or refused to answer.
Yes.
I think any experienced trial attorney will tell you there's never a sure thing, so nothing is ever in the bag. But we definitely felt very confident in our case. We spent a lot of time reviewing the evidence. We had great trial counsel. So we were always cautiously optimistic that this would be the result. But until a jury comes forward and announces not guilty, you're just never sure. But we were always very confident. And this was Steph's desire to be heard, to have the truth exposed. And
let me say this. So we'll see soon that she had a private lawyer that she said was for her workman's comp claim, if you will. But a lot of times when you are dealing with, legal situations like this, your lawyer will prepare you for being on trial, or being, for being on the stand, right? And I don't know if her lawyer was like, you know what, I'm only here for one thing, but she was definitely not prepared, or maybe that was her game plan going in, to not answer the questions and hope that her lack of response would help put things in her favor. But it was craziness, okay? Straight craziness. We will see that in a minute, all right? So we have you don't know 9520 in the chat. Welcome to the check-in. I appreciate your view and I appreciate your engagement in the chat. All right. We have Craftsman saying, I'm surprised the Bills won't bring him back. It'll take a veteran quarterback to deal with him. Hopefully, with what he's just experienced, I hope that Stefon Diggs has a level of gratefulness, for his outcome in this situation. Yes, he knew that he didn't do anything. However, when you have this trial looming over you and you're depending on other people to make decisions that impact you and your livelihood and your life, I would hope that he has experienced enough here to where, hey, he's not going to be, that level of ego. He's going to be more grateful and humble. I can only hope for the best. Now we have also Vagabundo in the house. This is about Stefon Diggs. Sometime last year, his chef said that his chef, a lady, they call her the BBL chef. She accused him of strangling her and things of that nature, and that he owed her money for her services. And so they just had his trial this week, and he was found to be not guilty. So we're discussing that. Okay. So Mr. Goddamn said she thought she was going to grab some money. Exactly. She thought that. She did not expect this to go to trial, in my opinion. Okay. Let's keep this going.
We're very pleased. So thank you very much.
All of us want to hear more from Stefon. Can you speak more to how he's feeling right now?
He's emotional, but he's happy. He's happy that he's been vindicated. No one, whether you're a professional athlete or a business person, wants to be falsely accused. It hurts, especially a serious issue like domestic violence. And so, he was very upset about these allegations. He was emotional, and I applaud him for allowing that to shine through.
What's next for him? What's next for him? What's next for Stefon?
OTAs. Thank you, everyone.
All right, so we have we have Pressman saying, poor Stefon Diggs, low part of his life on national spotlight. He did what he had to do. He said that he did not strangle this woman. Now, he had like some different people from his team that got on the stand and supported him, saying like, hey, she did the chef. I saw her at this point. I saw her out and about. She didn't have any marks on her. Da 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 da. So there were people that came in to this trial and supported him, and I guess told the truth on what they saw. Right. So, like I said, she did not expect. She was looking for some money, in my opinion. She didn't think it was gonna go to trial, and so she was sitting here like going out, doing things, living her life. People seeing her, they're not seeing these marks that she's seeing that's on her body. Okay. But we're going to go ahead now and we're going to shift over and we're going to see some of her testimony that she gave. And you guys tell me in the comments what you guys think about this. Okay. Let's get into it.
Just reminder.
Good morning. Just a reminder that you're still under oath.
Okay. And Ms. Adams, again, as of the same as yesterday, if you could do your best to keep your voice up, that is appreciated. Yes. Thank you.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, on January 1st.
Let me say this. I think it was brilliant for Diggs's team to have a woman do the cross-examination of the chef here. So I just wanted to point that out because as you just saw, his attorney that represented him was a man, but you have a lady that's doing the cross-examination here. Let's keep it going.
2026. You sent Steph's girlfriend a text message that later appeared on TMZ's website, correct?
Yes.
And in that text message, you told Steph's girlfriend that you were so sorry, but you couldn't talk to her, right?
Yes.
And you told Steph's girlfriend in that text message, I didn't say that, especially in the way it was written.
Yes.
Right? And you were talking about the statement that you made to the Dedham police, right?
It was a voicemail, and I didn't listen. I read it, the transcript, so I didn't know her voice.
When you told Steph's girlfriend on January 1st, 2026...
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. So
I
don't
haven't
wanna
finished my
answer it.
question. When you told Steph's girlfriend on...
See, the lady hadn't even answered the question yet. No, I'm sorry. The lady hadn't even asked the question, and she already saying what she don't understand. Y'all see that? Now we got Mr. Goddard saying she come dressed up as a grandma again, trying to look so innocent. Exactly. Why you didn't coming up with a suit on, ma'am? Okay. Craftsman is saying, as you can imagine, when you got over 150 men in a locker room, one or two bad apples can cause a lot of drama. Oh, I believe that. Yes, I do. Let's keep it going.
January 1st, 2026, in a written text message, I didn't say that. You were referring to the statements that were reported in the press that you gave to the Dedham Police Department, correct?
I don't understand your question.
Did you or did you not write those words?
I don't understand your question. Without further explaining.
She is asking the lady here. The attorney is asking the lady in the chef here, did you write these words? Like, these are words that you allegedly wrote. Did you write them? And she's saying she don't understand the question and she need further explanation in order to answer a question about whether she wrote something or not. Y'all see where we going? Mr. Goddard done put his hand in his head. You see what I'm saying here? Let's keep it rolling.
Not testify under oath to this jury what you meant by the words you wrote to Steph's girlfriend on January 1st, 2026?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question without further explaining.
You also asked Steph's girlfriend to, quote, please call my mediator and she will answer everything you need to know, but only in person and confidentially. Right?
Yes.
Your mediator's name is Lynette Marie, right?
Lynette Marie.
Thank you. She's also known as Lynette Marie Turner?
I don't know.
You don't know your mediator's last name?
Somebody you
I
paying
don't
probably.
know her. She's married. I don't know her exact last name.
What they got to do with her?
Your mediator works for a company called LMT Global, correct?
Yes, that's her company.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
You know her company name, but you don't know her last name. And she working for you.
I'm showing you a corporate document from the state of Michigan. It is an amended annual report filed by LMT Global Corporation. Can you please read the name of the president of that company?
Objection, Your Honor. Sidebar.
Why she can't ask her to read the name of the person that owned the company on the sheet of paper? What's wrong with that? At Lou 1, Lou 2, you're exactly right. Come up, failed. Trash. Y'all see what I'm talking about here? How she was not answering questions.
Your mediator, Lynette Marie, issued a money demand to Stefon Diggs on December 29th, the day the criminal complaint in this case issued, right?
I'm not sure of the date.
Well, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
If she recognizes it.
Mm-hmm. Do you recognize this email from L. Marie on December 29, 2025, to Stefon Diggs and a number of other people?
No, I don't recognize it.
You've never seen this money demand before?
I seen the money demand after I was. That's it. I don't recognize the email.
Under oath.
So the lady's asking her, do you recognize this money demand? Do you recognize this email? She didn't say, well, did you see the email before it was sent or after it was sent? She just asking, do you recognize it? That Mr. Dominic 3332 said, it's a yes or no question. And you see how she talking on this here internet right here on this screen? Okay.
Is that your mediator made a money demand on December 29th for money for you from Mr. Diggs.
Money for past wages.
The same day the criminal complaint in this case issued, and you didn't see it?
I can't answer that question.
I'm sorry?
I can't answer that question without explaining further.
Can't answer that question under oath.
Without explaining.
Your mediator demanded $19,000 on that date, didn't she?
For wages owed, yes.
So now, okay, the lady asks, do you know about the demand letter, about the amount of money that was being asked for by your mediator on your behalf? Okay, it don't matter what the money is for. I don't know if she was trying to make it seem like, well, I'm asking for, it was a demand for money that I was owed for my services, or is she trying to differentiate saying, okay, well, um, it's not money like, I'm asking for any kind of a settlement. I just want the money that was owed to me. I don't know why she keeps hinting or reiterating for wages owed. Okay. If this was really about wages being owed, then you wouldn't be in a court of this nature talking about wages being owed. You would have went through some type of employment labor type of court situation, not this. We're here in this courtroom to talk about domestic abuse charges. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand why she don't get that. Now we have Lou saying she was sleeping with Diggs, I bet, and it went sour. My understanding is that yeah, she was doing that. That's my understanding. And then on one of her other testimony videos, she even was talking about somebody else working for Diggs that might have been sleeping with him. Ma'am, you need to be focusing on you and what you trying to get here, okay? Not worried about trying to talk about what all he had going on, thinking that he gonna embarrass, like thinking she gonna embarrass Stefon Diggs. This man that had about 11 kids in 2025, and I think another one in 26, perhaps. He done lost Cardi B. What he got to lose? So what you think sitting on this court case, on this court stand, talking about who he might have been sleeping with, like that's gonna matter? She ain't with him no more. She shouldn't care at this point. You know what I'm saying? So we had David Zarowski saying this woman has made it more difficult for real cases of real women who have legitimate cases of domestic abuse. Exactly. That's why you have people today talk about how they just can't believe women when they when they say that they've been abused, because you have women that be trying to run the system. Okay, I'm gonna accuse you of this, and then he gonna go ahead on and settle, and then we gonna just I'm gonna get this money, and we gonna be out the way. You know what I'm saying? Because someone was talking about a celebrity singer, about Usher, saying that there were some women that accused him of providing them with a STI that was uncurable, if you will, and he settled. You know, so then they're saying, you know, when you settle, a lot of times they say, okay, when you settle, that means you're admitting some level of guilt to an extent with the case. Well, a lot of times you just want to go ahead and get it over with and save money on legal fees. But Stefon said, no, I'm going to fight this to the end because I know I didn't do anything and I don't want that being held over my head if I settle. So, yeah. So I agree with you 100%, David Zarowski, on this thing. So we have Lou saying, thank you, a smart black woman who's not siding with the woman just because. Oh, never that. I ain't going to just side with a woman just because. It got to make sense. That's why I try to be objective and see what all is being presented. But, you know, there's a reason why I hadn't seen her put out much conversation or put out much of any type of communication leading up to her being on this stand. Because, you know, the way she's communicating on this stand here, I don't know why anybody was listening to her, believing her. This is insanity. Then we have Mr. Goddamn saying fast 100. Let's keep this going.
Your Honor, I move to strike that.
Overruled. Answer stands.
Sorry?
Answer stands.
Thank you, Your Honor. You've made another money demand in this case, haven't you?
How many demands she made? Besides lost wages.
Actually, before we get there, the 19,000...
I didn't get a chance to answer the question.
Before we get there...
Are you withdrawing your question, counsel?
Yes, question is withdrawn. Thank you, Your Honor. After a money demand for $19,000 was provided to Stefon Diggs, on February 13th, you issued a public statement, didn't you?
Yes.
And in that public statement, you said, I have never sought money to settle this matter, right?
I haven't.
And by the middle of April, you had hired a lawyer to represent you, right?
For workers' comp.
That's a yes or no question, ma'am.
Yes, for workers' comp.
Your Honor, may the witness be instructed to please answer the questions posed.
The witness answered your question.
All right.
She answered the question.
And for workers' comp, the lawyer you hired, is she sitting in this room right now?
Yes.
And she helped you prepare for your testimony in this case, right?
She came to support me.
Now, y'all, I had just told y'all about 10 minutes ago that whoever she hired did not help her prepare for this court case. Okay? She's saying that the lady, that her private lawyer didn't prepare for this case and that she's here to support her. What lawyer do you know is going to just come to a case, to a trial to support you and you ain't paying her no $400? Let me tell y'all, I had to have a court case that I can't really talk about. It's ongoing, if you will. And that lawyer charges me $400 an hour. Okay? Do you think he gonna show up at a trial and support me and he ain't getting paid? Stop it. Opinion. She don't have no lawyer representing her in this domestic abuse trial situation. Okay? I could be wrong. We got Lou Jose in the house, 8133. Welcome, glad you're here. For the 144 of you that are here, if you like the vibe, please subscribe, okay? Hit the like button, push me in the algorithm. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. So we have Dominic saying court etiquette. Yeah, ain't none. Exactly. Then we have David Zarowski saying out of court settlement are paid by guilty people who do not want to admit their guilt. Exactly. Craftsman saying, come on, people, where's the light at? Yeah, where the light at? Help a sister out. We got Mr. Goddard saying she just stupid. See, y'all said it. I didn't. I just told y'all what was coming, y'all. Let's keep it going.
You came to the meeting with the Commonwealth's lawyer to help prepare you for your testimony in this case, correct?
I don't know how to answer answer that question.
You can't answer that question under oath, ma'am?
No,
You met with the prosecutor last Thursday, right? With your lawyer,
I
right?
was told to have a lawyer because you guys asked me to plead the fifth on some things. So I was instructed to have my lawyer come.
So your testimony under oath is that the Commonwealth's attorney instructed you to bring your private lawyer?
Or a lawyer, that you guys offered a lawyer, so I brought my private lawyer.
I'm sorry, when you say you guys, do you mean me, defense counsel for Mr. Diggs?
Yes.
Is your testimony under oath that I had some role in your preparation session with the district attorney's office to prepare you for your testimony in this case?
I was told that the defense said I needed to have a lawyer, or they were going to provide a lawyer, something in that context, about pleading the fifth.
Hold on. Why would y'all heard what she just said? Why would the defense, which is Stefon Diggs and his team, why would they offer to provide her with a lawyer? Does that make sense? Can y'all make sense? Does that make sense to y'all? Why would Stefon Diggs' team tell her you need to bring a lawyer, you need to plead the fifth, and we'll provide you with a lawyer? Why would they do that? Why? Is he just, I mean, if he was gonna just waste money and spend money to help her, he could have just paid her whatever she was talking about she needed to be paid for lost wages. I'm just saying. Okay. We got Dominic saying crazy. Clearly, I'm not the only one hearing this foolishness. Okay, let's keep this going, y'all.
Messages. So I brought my lawyer, which was when I walked to the side of the judge yesterday.
Your personal lawyer is here today, correct?
My workers' comp.
She's with the law firm of Boston Law. That's a law firm here in Dorchester, Massachusetts.
Ma'am, I think that was like, I apologize, but you do need to keep your voice up. I don't know if you answered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Tell the jury how much I think you described her as a workers' comp lawyer.
I got her because I was injured on the job and I needed to file a workers' comp case. Stefon Diggs did not have proper workers' and comp insurance.
The final portion of that answer will be stricken and you will disregard it. Ms. Adams, if you could just listen to the question, answer the question, and if you need it rephrased, counsel will certainly rephrase it for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So you see how the judge had to step in and be like, look, man, can you please listen to the question? Answer the question that's being asked. If you don't understand the question, they can rephrase it for you. How old is this lady? Do somebody know her age? How is it that she is a chef? And y'all don't get me, please understand. I don't be on this internet trying to talk bad about nobody. But in order to be a chef, don't you have to be able to know how to follow a recipe? And I say that because that means you have instructions that you have to follow in order to cook things, right? And I'm just trying to understand how we've been on here looking at this lady do this testimony, and this one, even though she had did this for about 2 days. I'm not even gonna put y'all through that. And every question, it's like she don't know how to answer, she don't understand. It don't make no sense here. The judge had to stop and be like, look, we're gonna strike out this part. Please listen to the question, ask the question, understand what is going on, ma'am. What's going on here? We have Dominic saying she's definitely not the sharpest knife in the drawer. She ain't even sharp as a butter knife. Not even a butter knife. You hear me, Mr. Dominic? We got Lou, you know it, saying Leonidas is the well open today because this is madness. David Zabrowski said, yes, no, I cannot recall. That's all she has to do. That's it. Yes, no, I don't recall. Keep it moving. You see what I'm saying? Let's go on, get this going, y'all.
3 weeks ago, your lawyer demanded $5.5 million from Mr. Diggs, didn't he?
$5 million? 5 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 million
Mr. Diggs offered me $100,000
Ma'am,
to recant my statement.
that is a yes.
That is the
Your Honor,
only.
may we be heard at sidebar, please?
Objection moved to strike. Jurors, the last part of the witness's answer. The last part of the witness's response will be stricken as non-responsive. You will disregard it and you will not consider it during your deliberations.
Okay, so the judge had to go ahead and put some pause on things because she don't know how to answer a question. Cannot do it. Okay, so yes, Mr. Lou, I had to go ahead and put Mr. Mike P8U2S into timeout. He was spamming the chat. Thank you for being here, sir, but we cannot have you messing up the vibe for me and my guests that are here. Okay, so let's see. We have okay, I don't know what they're talking about here. But yes, y'all. So we're gonna get back to this. I want you guys to see what the judge had to say to the lady again, as far as how to conduct herself in this in this trial right here. Let's keep it going.
Tell them that as well. But courtrooms function in, and especially trials, unfold in a question and answer format. This is not an opportunity for you to interject your own narrative and evade responding to questions the court deems appropriate. And if you continue to do so, your entire testimony may be stricken. Am I clear?
Yes.
Very clear.
The jurors.
Okay, you see how she had to tell her that? Somebody should have told her that before she started this trial. So I think what I'm gonna do, y'all, I think I'm going to continue this Stefon Diggs narrative on tomorrow and get some more things for us to look at regarding this, because this is getting it to be a little interesting for me. We know the outcome, but we need to talk about the shenanigans and the foolishness of what's happening with Miss BBL Chef, honey. So we have Mormon McKee in the house from Northeast Florida. Welcome. Hey, how you doing? We got Dominic saying she was peed because Diggs offered her $100K only. Oh, he offered her $100,000? Okay. David said 19K became 5 million. Interest is real good in this case. Ain't it though? Yes. Yes. Lou, you know it said the judge done gave her a talking to. She had to. And let her know, look, if you continue in this manner, we are going to have to just strike out your whole testimony. And honestly, in this case, from what my understanding is, the people who did testify on behalf of Stefon, they're like, oh, we ain't see no bruises on her or nothing like that. Let me tell you something. If you know you're gonna do a money grab, when you go back to what's the girl name? When we had the P. Diddy trial going on, and the young lady, the just me and you girl. Anyway, that lady, when he when she was abused, Cassie, her and her mom took photos of her body and video. Okay? You not finna sit here and get abused like that and then be looking for $5 million and you ain't got you ain't got no evidence of no abuse. And then you got people that have seen you around the time when it's happening and they don't, and you operating how you operating. We're gonna get more into this tomorrow for sure. Okay? But I promise you that. We got Mr. Goddard saying judge didn't even want to take the wheel on this one. She said it's all on you, shorty. So then hey, fly or sink, whatever it is, swim or sink, basically. Okay, y'all. So We've been on this thing for an hour and 39 minutes and 25 seconds. Okay. It's 96 of you guys here. If you can like the live, I appreciate it. If you like the vibe, please subscribe. We're gonna be back on here tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. And we're gonna talk more about Stefon Diggs and some other things going on in the news, honey. But what we talked about today was Project Freedom and this pause that's been going on for about a day now. Also, we talked about Miss Senator Louise Lucas and what she got going on, possibly with this FBI investigation surrounding I guess a weed situation. We don't know the facts of that yet. We'll find out. And we talked about Stefon Diggs and his not guilty verdict and the foolishness surrounding all of that. Okay. Now we have Loman McKee in the chat saying he who documents wins in a court of law. And we're gonna end on that note because you are absolutely right on that statement right there. I'll be back tomorrow, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. You all have a good night. Have a great day at work tomorrow. And we'll be back right here, same place, same time. I'm out.